Hi everyone, welcome to my channel where every single week I will be giving you some tips regarding things that you wish you learned in school when it comes to saving, investing, and just managing your money. This week I'm going to answer a question that I received from somebody on Instagram. She reached out and she said, I came across your Instagram last week and I'm so glad I did. I'm glad you did also, so thank you. Her question is, I recently graduated from law school and I'm preparing for the bar exam. And then I plan to start my job hunt. I was wondering if you have any advice or resources for that process, especially in terms of negotiating salaries and whatnot. I thought the best way to answer this was just to put out a video because I know a lot of people have questions on finding that job that they really like, whether you're just graduating college or you're currently in a job that you just don't really love. I'm gonna give you a few ideas on how to really help with this because I have had some pretty good success from getting out of college and getting a job with a bank. I worked as a teller, then I worked at Charles Schwab, working with independent investment advisors, then I worked at Morgan Stanley as a financial advisor myself, and then I worked for E-Trade as a financial consultant, and I also became a certified financial planner. So I do have some experience in seeking out jobs that I really am interested in and landing them. The first thing I would say is to get to know people in your community, expand your comfort zones and your connections. Let people know what you're doing too. If you're about to graduate, let people know, hey, I'm about to graduate and I'm looking for work in this type of field, and see what people say because people do want to help you out. If they have the knowledge, they'll share it with you. So the first thing you have to do is ask. You could do that on social media and just be professional with it. Like, hey, I'm really looking for a position doing XYZ thing. Does anybody have any friends or family or anybody that they could refer me to that could possibly help out? The next thing I would say is to do your research on companies that you actually want to work for. So when I was graduating and starting the job hunting process, I was like, okay, well, sky's the limit, right? You just feel like you can have anything and do anything. Take that momentum and use it. And what I did was I just Googled best financial companies to work for. I saw the top lists, it was like top 10 firms to work for, and I applied for the top 4, I think. I got interviews with the top 2 or 3. Basically, what you want to do is go for the best. If you're just kind of starting out, or if you want to make a switch, make a good switch that you're going to love. So do some research into the companies that you really do think that you would gain joy in working for, or that would look really good on your resume, because maybe it's not something you want forever, but it could help you get to where you want to go if you need some experience. The first thing I did was I was telling everybody, hey, I'm graduating, I'm looking for something in finance, but I don't know if I want to go corporate or personal. And then I was bartending at this time, and one of my bar guests said, hey, we know somebody that works at Lockheed Martin in the finance department. Why don't you talk with them? So then they set up that informal interview thing where I was able to go and meet with that person. He works in the finance team. So I came prepared with a list of questions to ask him that would help me to decide if I did want to go corporate for finance or if I wanted to go personal finance. So I was very prepared for that. So try to find people within the industry that you want to work in. Ask them if they'll do an interview with you so that you can learn more about the position to see if it's something that you want to pursue. And people are going to be open to this too. So if you don't know somebody that knows somebody, then you're going to have to use online resources like LinkedIn. Make sure your profile's really good, your picture and all of that is professional. And then you can find corporate directories, and then you can reach out to these people via email and introduce yourself. There's an art to this because you have to get past the computers with your resume. It's extra helpful to do that if you have a one-on-one connection with somebody that can actually pull your resume from the computer. So that's the goal when trying to like make these connections, is I need somebody that can override the computer and pull that resume, because otherwise you're just dealing with numbers. I've got some ideas that can really help you game the system, I guess, to make sure your resume is actually seen by a human. When someone does take the time to sit down with you and meet with you, make sure you're prepared with a really good, solid list of questions for them. And then make sure you send them a thank you. Thank you so much for meeting with me. And if this process goes well, not only have you gained insight into the company and have a better understanding of what it would be like to work there, you then have an advocate on your side that could be that human that taps on their manager's shoulder and says, hey, you know, I met this person, they were really sharp, I think they'd be a great addition to the team. And that's working your connections, right? Like if you do a great job, they're gonna be on your side and they're gonna wanna help you get a job. In my experience, when I did meet that person and had that informal interview, he connected me to his manager, the hiring manager, and got me an interview. So I went in. That was my first ever professional interview, and man, it was, I wouldn't say I did terrible, but I did pretty bad. They gave me some great advice. They said, you know, you don't have much finance experience on your resume. Actually, I had none except for what I got from school, because I was a bartender and a server throughout my whole life prior to that. The advice they gave me was go get a job at a bank so you can get some experience on your resume that's actually in finance. So then I started telling people, hey, I need a job at a bank. I want to get a job. I want to work at a bank. And then I went into a bank and I talked to a bank teller when I was opening an account. And he said, you know, we're not hiring here, but my neighbor's a banker at Fifth Third Bank. Let me see if they'll give you an interview. So I brought my resume to him, he took it there, and then I got the job. Make sure you're sharing with people what it is that you want to do, and they'll help you out. If you don't have a connection, you can't find a connection, you've tried everything you can, and you're just going in blind to get hired, then you have got to have a really great looking and sounding and professional resume. So I'm gonna link mine below so you can take a look. This is the same resume I've used to get a job at every single place that I've worked, but I've changed the wording for every place that I'm applying to. I make it very specific to that place. And what I do is I go online and I look at the job that I want, and I look at the job description, and I take those words and I look at my experience, and then I reword it to sound exactly like the job description. Because when you're submitting your resume, you're in a fight against technology, and you need your resume to be pulled by the algorithms that they use. I don't know how that works, but they're gonna sift out a bunch of people if you don't have certain things on your resume. So the best thing you can do is to look at the job description and make your qualifications sound just like that. This could be BS, but I mean, it worked for me. So I think it works. It really helps you get that interview. And a lot of times we have these qualifications, we just have to figure out how to word them so the computer believes us enough to get us that interview. Then once you get the initial interview, make sure you're prepared. You should have read the website inside and out. Every single link on that website where you're going to apply, you should have read it. You should know their value statement, their mission program, whatever it is. You should know what you're applying for so that when they say, why do you want to work here? Your answer isn't, because I need a job. You know, it's because this is an excellent company because of XYZ thing. I love how you give back to the community. I love how you empower people to do this. Whatever it is, you need to have solid reasons that are from their website or from your personal experience in working with them as to why you actually do want to work there. It can be BS. You can make this up, but it has to be, like, it might not be your true reason. Like, your reason might be, I need this so that I can get another job. Obviously, don't tell them that, but just tell them why that's a company that you actually would work for. And let people know that you do have an interview coming up, and see if they will help provide you with potential questions that can be asked. Try to find a professional in the same industry and get them to do a practice interview with you, because those first few interviews can really be intimidating. And when someone asks you tell me about yourself, I know when I was asked this, I started telling my life history, and it's like, that's not what you're supposed to do in these interviews. So you have to know these things, and the only way to know these things is to use your online resources, do a ton of research, and practice a lot so that you get really comfortable and you're not thrown off guard when they do ask you a question. You pretty much should know what they're going to ask you for the most part, because there's only so many things that someone can ask you. And if you've read all these questions online, there's high chances that you've seen at least some version of the question and you're prepared mentally with an answer for them. If you don't know a question that they ask in the interview, just ask them to rephrase it, reword it, or you can just say, I'd have to think about that and get back to you. I'll shoot you an email with an answer when I can wrap my thoughts around that a little bit better. And that's okay. They don't expect you to know everything or just have answers for every single thing right then and there. Again, make sure you follow up with them with a thank you. Thanks for taking your time to interview me yesterday. At the end of your interview, make sure you ask questions, know what to ask before you're even in there. And when you're listening to the interview, you'll be able to pick up on things that you can ask further clarification for at the end of the interview. When they ask, what questions do you have? Don't ever say, I don't have any questions. Like, ask something, because they want to know that you're thoughtful and can ask an intelligent question or two, or a few of them, hopefully. Use Glassdoor when you're preparing for your interview too. They will have questions from that specific company that you might be asked in the interview. I have a link to that below. This resource really comes in handy when it comes time to negotiating your salary. You should know what the position pays when you're going in to apply. You should know the range. If you don't know that scale, you're not even gonna know where to start with your negotiating. Have that in mind when you go in to help you figure out where it is that you can fall and what you can be paid. If you're not really qualified and you're just kind of starting out, you might be on the lower end to start, but if you at least know what that ballpark is, then you know what you're working with. When I got hired at Morgan Stanley, I didn't do this, and so they just met the salary of Schwab, my prior employer. So I left Schwab, they met my salary. Had I gone in there knowing what I could ask for, then I probably could have got at least $10,000 or $20,000 more dollars than I was offered. But they're gonna always try to pay you as little as they can. So make sure you go in there prepared with knowing what is an acceptable range for them to ask you. And then take that, say, I will think about it, and think about it. Do some really thoughtful questions within yourself, like, why is it that I should be paid more than this? And come up with some actual real reasons that you can put on paper or verbalize to them to say, you know, I really would like 10,000 more, and here's why. If they say no, at least you know you asked, but most likely they'll work with you, meet you in the middle somewhere, and don't just ask for a few $1,000s more. Like, if you're gonna ask for more, ask for 5 or 10 or 15,000 more, so it's at least something that they can consider, not like, oh, if I don't give them an extra couple thousand, like, it's not a big difference, and they know that you'll still take it. But if you're asking for something larger, then they'll actually consider doing it. And if you've given them reason, then hopefully you will get closer to what you want. Those are my thoughts when it comes to finding a job. Good luck with your job process, and feel free to ask me some questions in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel to see new videos every single week. I'm gonna start taking questions directly that I get from my Instagram community and answer those here. I know a lot of people have similar questions, so I'm gonna try to get these questions answered pretty quickly and get out a couple videos a week if I can. And hopefully you learn a lot, and we can all manage our money really well so we can live our best life. Bye.